In the quiet town of Millstone, nestled between the dense woods and rolling hills, unsettling whispers floated on the wind. Stories of the black-eyed children, strange, eerie youths with coal-black eyes, had crept into the lives of the townsfolk. No one remembered when the tales had begun, but the fear they inspired was palpable. Curfew had become an unwritten law. Children disappeared without explanation, and the adults kept vigilant eyes on their windows after dark. This is a story of what happened when an ordinary evening turned into a tale of terror that would haunt Millstone for generations. Chapter 1. A Normal Evening. The sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting an amber glow over Millstone. Jenna Thompson sat at her kitchen table, finishing up her homework. At 12 years old, she felt the weight of the world pressing upon her. School assignments, social drama, and a nagging sense of the inexplicable that lingered in the air. "Jenna, don't forget to help your brother with his dinner," her mother called from the other room. "Yeah, Mom," Jenna replied, trying to focus on the math problems before her. The faint buzz of the television played in the background, a soothing hum her mother relied on to drown out the silence of the lair they called home. But as the shadows deepened, a chill crept into the air. Jenna's mind wandered to the stories she had overheard in school about the black-eyed children. They were always told in hushed tones, a mixture of fear and disbelief coloring the pupils of those who recounted their encounters. Children who appeared on doorsteps, crying, asking to be let in, only to reveal their soulless, black eyes that evoked dread and madness. "Stop it, Jenna," she muttered to herself, shaking her head. "They're just stories." Yet fear settled in her stomach like a stone. Chapter 2. A Knock at the Door. A sudden knock at the door startled Jenna. She glanced at the clock. 8:45 p.m. Far too late for any acquaintances to be visiting. Hesitantly, she rose from her chair and peered through the peephole, her heart pounding. Two children stood on the porch, silhouetted against the twilight. Their faces were obscured by the evening shadows, but Jenna could make out their narrow frames and tattered clothes. She felt a shiver race down her spine. "Who is it?" she called out, voice trembling ever so slightly. "Let us in, please," one of the children replied, the voice eerily calm. "We just need to come inside." "What do you want?" Jenna demanded, trying to appear brave even as her instincts screamed at her to retreat. "Just to talk," the second child said, their tone imploring yet demanding. "We're lost. It's cold out here." With caution, Jenna opened the door slightly, just enough to fend off the creeping dread that threatened to overwhelm her. Both children wore dirty coats, their hair stringy and disheveled. But it was their eyes that rendered her captive, pitch black and empty, giving off an unnatural aura that sent a jolt of fear straight through her. "Who are you?" she whispered. "We're just kids," the first one replied, stepping closer, their eyes glinting with something indescribable. "Please, let us in." Chapter 3. A Fateful Decision. In that moment of weakness, curiosity wrestled with fear inside Jenna's chest. She was drawn to the children, yet a primal instinct told her to slam the door and run. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, a warning about the strange, uninvited guests that prowled the towns and forests. Jenna, her smaller brother, Kyle, called from the living room. "Who is it?" The children turned their gaze toward the direction of Kyle's voice, and Jenna noticed a flicker of something dangerous in their expression. "Let us in, Jenna," they intoned in unison, their voices sinister and smooth, like silk wrapping around a razor blade. "Your brother will be safe with us. We just want to talk." Panic gripped her heart. "No, I can't." "Why not?" The other child pressed, encroaching on her space. Their noses nearly brushed against the edge of the door, the darkness behind their eyes beckoning her to surrender. "Then I'll call my mom," Jenna declared, though it felt like a feeble threat. "Your mother can't hear you," one of them hissed, suddenly inches away. "She's preoccupied." This unsettling certainty froze Jenna in place. Unable to resist, she flicked her eyes around the house, searching for reassurance. It was empty and silent. The warmth of home felt distant. Chapter 4. A Wake-Up Call. Just then, A loud crash echoed from the kitchen as a pan fell to the ground. Jenna jumped, snapping back to the situation at hand. She locked eyes with the strange children again, feeling as if they were looking into her very soul, unraveling her sanity. "Open the door," they commanded, the childish shrieks now tinged with something more sinister. "Let us come in." Jenna positioned herself defensively, her breath shallow as she spun the deadbolt and leaned her weight against the door. They echoed the word "open" until it became a ritualistic chant in her mind, reverberating off the walls of her skull. Then, as if timed to the perfect warning, Jenna heard the garage door begin to rise. Clarity surged through her, a thought bursting so bright through the fog of fear. "Kyle, go hide!" she shouted, and without hesitation, he scrambled away, finding refuge under a heavy blanket on the couch. Chapter 5. The Black-Eyed Children. Panic spread through Jenna like wildfire. She grabbed her phone, but as she attempted to dial her mother, the signal flickered and faded the moment she pressed the call button. The children outside renewed their efforts, pounding on the door with an eerie rhythm. She glanced back at her younger brother, who stood wide-eyed, tears gathering in his eyes. "I want Mommy," he cried. "At me too." Jenna whimpered. "Just stay back." She didn't even know what she was so afraid of, but the chill of their presence was undeniable. Suddenly, the knocking returned, more insistent and loud, like thunder crashing against the house. With each thump, the children outside grew restless. "Stop it," Jenna shouted, pressing her back against the door, willing the children to disperse. "Listen to us. We are just children like you," they called out in perfect harmony, their voices laced with the sweet allure of deceit, manipulating the air with each syllable. "Open the door," they demanded again, voices rising in urgency. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. There's more excitement ahead. Chapter 6. The Escape. The urgency drove them back into the hallway, whirling away from the dreadful scene unfolding outside. Almost instinctively, they made their way to the main staircase, determined to seek refuge in the higher reaches of their home. As they ascended, the children's voices swirled around them, a cacophony of terror that taunted them from just beyond the front door. "You can't keep us out," one of them promised. "We're hungry." That dreadful moment, Jenna felt a surge of clarity. She grabbed her mother's hand, pulling her closer. "We need to call the police." But as she frantically attempted to make the call, a wave of cold swept through her, and her phone screen flickered ominously, then went black. "Mom, the phone!" she cried, throwing it across the room in frustration. "It's broken. We can't stay here," her mother said, panic etched across her face. "We need to find a way out." Suddenly, the front door crashed open again, the children's chanting becoming a rhythm of madness. "Listen to us. We are just children like you," they called out in unison, weaving their dark melody into the night. "N01 is coming in. Get away from my kids," her mother commanded, protecting Jenna with her body. But the children merely stepped closer, their aura malignant, their whispers becoming a sickening serpent of chaos slithering into her mind. "You can't keep us out," one of them promised. "We're hungry." That dreadful moment, Jenna felt a surge of clarity. She grabbed her mother's hand, pulling her closer. "We need to call the police." Chapter 7. The Confrontation. Suddenly, the door rattled violently, and Jenna's heart raced faster. Memories of stories told around campfires flooded her mind. The dark legends of children who harbored malicious intent, who sought to steal souls or bring despair. Those who fell prey to their eerie charm never returned the same. "Open the door," they commanded, the childish shrieks now tinged with something more sinister. "Let us come in." Jenna positioned herself defensively, her breath shallow as she spun the deadbolt and leaned her weight against the door. They echoed the word "open" until it became a ritualistic chant in her mind, reverberating off the walls of her skull. Then suddenly, the front door burst open and her mother stepped through, bags of groceries in hand. "What's wrong?" she exclaimed, her eyes darting between Jenna and the children. Mom, don't let them in, Jenna shouted, barely able to breathe. The pitch of the children's voices shifted, becoming desperate yet commanding. You will let us in, or there will be consequences. What's going on? Her mother gasped, slowly stepping backward as she realized the black-eyed children were flanking the porch. Just some kids, Jenna replied, trying to exhibit an air of confidence. They wanted to come in, but they're weird. I don't think they're okay. Why are they staring at us? Kyle asked, frowning and edging forward. I don't know. Just stay back, Jenna ordered, her heart racing. Suddenly, the knocking returned, more insistent and loud, like thunder crashing against the house. With each thump, the children outside grew restless. Stop it, Jenna shouted, pressing her back against the door, willing the children to disperse. Listen to us. We are just children like you, they called out in perfect harmony, their voices laced with the sweet allure of deceit, manipulating the air with each syllable. Open the door, they demanded again, voices rising in urgency. In that dreadful moment, Jenna felt a surge of clarity. She grabbed her mother's hand, pulling her closer. We need to go now. Chapter 8. Echoes of the past. Time felt altered. Standing there, clutching the banister of their staircase. Each second stretched into eternity. Jenna's heart pounded to a haunting tempo, a beat that intertwined with the echoes of the darkness below. Yet, as they braced themselves for the encounter, a wave of realization washed over Jenna. In that moment, she too began to understand the creeping essence of the black-eyed children. Sealed in silence, darkness, and despair, they drove on the fears of others, feeding on terror and desperation. The walls of her home twisted, reflecting shadows that danced around her mind, and she understood now that it would take far more than courage to withstand this confrontation. They wouldn't just have to fend off these nightmarish entities. They'd have to confront the very essence of fear itself. Chapter 9. When night falls silent, the children's voices faded into an eerie lull. The darkness in the house thickened. Jenna clutched her mother's arm tighter, trying to summon the courage she feared had abandoned her. They're gone, her mother finally whispered. But we can't let our guard down. They waited, every creak of the house terrorizing their thoughts, echoing the dread that surrounded them. Minutes turned into an eternity until suddenly, an unnatural stillness enveloped them. Should we go back down? Jenna asked, her heart racing with uncertainty. Her mother hesitated, then nodded. Yes, but together. Slowly. The air held a chilled promise that brushed past them. With tentative steps, they ventured down the stairway, crossing their fingers that the kids had disappeared as mysteriously as they had arrived. They reached the bottom. Jenna felt an overwhelming emptiness. A sign of relief washed over them. But a deeper dread lurked with the knowledge that the darkness had not truly left. Kyle? They called as they turned into the living room. The shadows stretched long in the faint light, and the couch sat empty. A swallowed echo of despair gripped Jenna's chest. No. Kyle! She cried, panic igniting her voice. He was gone. Chapter 10. Into the woods. Fear clawed at Jenna's throat as she whipped around. Mom! We have to find him. Her mother looked lost, searching every corner of the room. He must have gone to the bathroom, or perhaps to find us, she murmured, her voice laced with desperation. And oh, Jenna shook her head, her heart pounding. You don't understand. He could be outside. They could be trying to take him. Together, they bursted through the front door and stepped out into the chilling night, frantically scanning the surroundings. The world had transformed. The moon hung heavy, casting shadows that rippled beyond their comprehension. Her mother hushed urgently. Her eyes widened as she listened keenly against the silence. But something shifted in the distance, a sound slithering through the trees, calling Jenna forward. She could feel it, a tug at her heart urging her deeper into the dense woods that loomed ahead. We need to go back in, her mother said, but realization clicked into place. Soon enough, they too were mounting the stairs, taking refuge in the dank corners of darkness where their fears mingled with the echoes of artifacts long forgotten. Chapter 11. Shadows of the Past. Inside the attic, they gathered close, peeling away old layers of the past. Dust danced in the moonlight, filtering through the small window. But something shifted beyond the walls, the echoes of laughter swirling as the children lurked outside. "What if they come for us?" Kyle whispered, small shoulders trembling. "They won't find us here," Jenna reassured, heart beating wildly in her chest. Each second felt like eternity as they waited. The hallways trembled with whispering ghosts and shadows from beyond. They had to endure, to steel themselves against the unknown, but darkness nestled deep within their hearts. "Jenna," whispered her mother, reaching for her daughter's hand. "What will we do?" If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. There's more excitement ahead. Jenna didn't have any answers, just a weight of fear that echoed long before her. "We wait," she replied, fragile hope mingling with dread. But as the minutes ticked by, the ominous voice returned, soft, haunting, beckoning through the cracks in their sanctuary. "Jenna, let us not go away," she shouted, trembling as the sound twisted like poison in her ears. "That we just want to help," they sung. But she wouldn't yield. "Mommy, let's go back to the other rooms, please." As the energy thickened, the room dimmed, and tension wrapped around them, conjuring visions of abandonment and helplessness. Chapter 12. A Plan of Attack. "Mom," Jenna said, her hands shaking, "I think I know what we can do." "What?" her mother replied, eyes widening as she listened closely. "That we can drive them away. It's not about letting them in. We need to show them we are strong." Suddenly, a surge of electricity coursed through Jenna's veins, and an idea formed. "What if we use the flashlights? Shine the light in their eyes?" Her mother pondered, nodding excitedly. "Good idea. We need to blind them." With unity, they emptied boxes of clutter, uncovering long-forgotten treasures and old flashlights. In the cramped attic, shadows morphed, becoming tangible forms as their whispers intensified. When they finally flicked the lights on, the attic flickered to life, illuminating the quiet corners and shimmering dust near the window. "Then on the count of 3, whispered Jenna's mother, firm and steady. With every ounce of courage rallying within them, they prepared to confront their nightmare, to face the shadows that haunted their existence. "1, 2, 3, they yelled, shining the flashlights toward the attic door as the darkness coiled below. Chapter 13. The final struggle. As the children's forms emerged in front of them, Jenna led the charge, unleashing beams of blinding light towards the encroaching figures at the door. "Get back!" she shouted, the flashlights sweeping like swords against the creeping despair. "Bright, too bright," the children shrieked. With their voices rising to a fever pitch, the shadows recoiled, revealing their true shapes and distorting before them. Panic began to bubble as their embrace of darkness faltered. The light held strong against the void. "You cannot keep us out," they hissed, yet the brightness held firm, pushing away the encroaching darkness and revealing the truth at the heart of their intentions. "That in your eyes lies fear," one child echoed, pain reflected within even as they writhed in the light. "That I won't let you take my brother," Jenna screamed, swinging the flashlight wide. The glowing beams blazed through the room, tearing apart the shadows that clawed at the edges of their sanctuary. "Enough," her mother cried, and together they held their ground. The children shrieked, flickers of darkness shattered like glass, fading into the night. Shadows dissipated one by one until the attic grew quiet, a whisper replacing shadow. Chapter 14. Moments of clarity. Finally, they held their ground long enough. The voices diminished, the atmosphere returning to calmness once again. Breathing heavily, they collapsed, laying against the attic floor, hearts racing yet united. "Are they gone?" Kyle asked, breathless. "Did I think so?" Jenna replied, searching her mother's eyes for assurance. "What will we do now?" Her mother sighed, relief and exhaustion mingling in her tone, that I just want to go downstairs and pretend this never happened, Jenna murmured. But deep within, they each knew better. Their lives would forever be altered. The tales of the black-eyed children weren't just stories. They served as warnings. And whatever allure darkness had held over them had been shattered, dispelled in an act of defiance. Chapter 15. Homecoming.as dawn broke. A soft orange hue replaced the remnants of the night, painting the world anew. Somewhere, birds chirped cautiously, reflecting their fragile hope. As the family stirred, half terrified yet victorious, they began their descent back to the living room, their hearts longing for normalcy. The presence of the children lingered like a shadow in their thoughts, but a newfound strength held sway within them. They knew fear would always exist, but courage could conquer. Peeking outside, the world was anew, vibrant and alive, while the memories of the last night battled against their hearts. They stepped through the door, all three, today marking a new legacy that let's not speak of this again, Jenna's mother said quietly. But as they shared glances of understanding, it became evident that this shared experience made them stronger. The bond held firm, a testament to hope forged against the darkness that threatened to engulf them. Even at the fringes of Millstone, whispers of the black-eyed children swirled like ghosts, but they no longer feared them. They had learned that courage does not emerge from the absence of fear, but rather from facing it head-on. Epilogue: Legends never die. Years later, as the stories of the black-eyed children continued to twist in the hearts of locals, Jenna, now an adult, shared her tale with her children around campfires. With every word, the legacy of that fateful night took shape. Etched in time, whispers swirling through the woods, bringing both chills and understanding. The darkness is a part of life, she told them, but you must learn to find the light within it. Always remember, your strength lies in the courage you muster in the face of the unknown. And as the story spread, Jenna knew that through every generation, legends would never die. They would live on, carving their own path, forever reminding all who listen to embrace the light amidst the shadows.